welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, like and share my videos. And to all that have subscribed so far, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for supporting me. Please keep sharing my videos. Please like it. That's the only way you can, encourage me. Please subscribe to my channel and do not forget to touch the notification bell so you can get notified whenever I post any new video. So guys, today's business is all about how to draft the basic bodies, and it is beginners friendly. Don't worry, I'm going to explain to you in the simplest way, the simplest form. So basic bodies is just the most important thing you need to know if you want to start sewing. If you want to be a fashion designer, you need to know how to draft the basic bodies. So let's go into details now. Yes, as I said it is pattern. As you can see in the description box, it is pattern drafting. So I am using this brown paper, this pattern paper, and then you'll be needing your tape rule, scissors, ruler, and a marker. So let's go straight into today's business. So you can see a line that I marked here. This will serve as my starting line because the edge of the paper is not too straight. So I will start here, and of course it will serve as sewing allowance at the top. As we go on, you will understand. Let's just go straight to the business. So this is my starting point. I will start from where I marked here. So when you want to draft your basic bodies, you need some measurements, some important measurements to draft the base, the bodies. Now the first measurement is you need the shoulder measurement, which is usually 16, and it depends on your client's shoulder measurement, but it is usually 16. And you need the armhole measurement, the round armhole measurement. You need the bust measurement. You need the waist measurement, and you need the length of your dress. Do not forget the shoulder, the bust measurement, the waist measurement, hip measurement, and the length of your gown. So let me tell you something before we start drafting. This pattern drafting is basically if you want to sew a long gown, a simple long gown. This is just the basic thing you need to know. So let's go straight into today's business. This will be my starting point, and it will be the shoulder line. As I said this will be the shoulder line. This is the shoulder line. So then I would place my tape rule on the shoulder line. Hope you can see. I will then place my tape rule on the shoulder line. Then this tape rule you see in here, make sure you place it on the shoulder line so that you can get your accurate measurements. And one more thing, before drafting or before cutting, or before cutting your fabric, you have to fold your fabric. Let's assume this is my fabric. You have to fold it in two. You see, you fold it in two. As you can see, I had to use this to hold it, to hold the paper so that you can be able to see very well. So you need to fold your pattern paper into two. You fold in two, and then you take your measurements, and any measurement you are placing on this will be divided by 4. So let's start from this. So now I will go ahead and take my waist measurement. Yes, your waist measurement is usually described as the half length, and it depends on your clients. Maybe in my next video I will show you how to take accurate measurement of your clients. And for me, I'll be using my own measurements for the purpose of this tutorial. And my own half length I'll be using here, I'll be using 17 as my own half length. I'll be using 17 here. So I would place it here and mark my half length. This is 17. then I would connect it. This is very simple. Then I will use my ruler to create a straight line. I hope you can see it very well. Creating a straight line. Creating a straight line. This is my half length from the shoulder down to where 17 is. You can see 17. You can see very well. And now another thing is, these are just the basic things you need to note. From your waist to get your hip measurement, it is 9 inches. From your waist, you measure 9 inches down. Actually, it depends on your client. Your client might be 8, might be 9. It depends on your client's measurement. But for me, I told you I'll be using my measurement, and for me, it is 9 inches. So from my waist now, I will place my top rule and measure 9 inches. Then mark it here. Then mark the 9 inches here. I would have to lift this so that I can move my pattern paper. I have a very small table, but do not worry. So I would, okay, so now I'm moving it. Then this is my 9 inches here. The next thing is, I would then draw a straight line. I will draw a straight line. I will label it. This is hip, and this is waist measurement. And this, the edge of my pattern paper will serve, the edge of my pattern paper will serve as the, so the edge of my pattern paper will serve as the length of the dress. So this is the length of the dress. So now let's go back to the top part. So after marking all this line, then you come down to your shoulder measurement. You come back to the shoulder line rather, then you place your shoulder measurement on it. And please, I said I'll be using my own measurement. My own shoulder measurement is 16 divided by 2. You must divide your shoulder measurement, your client shoulder measurement, by 2 before placing it on your fabric. So my measurement is 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I will place the 8 here. As you can see me do, I'll place the 8 here. This is the 8 inches, and I'll mark it. Let me bring it closer. I will mark it. Then after that, at the point where I marked 8 inches, you can see that our shoulder is not straight. It's a little bit, slopey, a little bit slope. There's a little bit slope there. So that is what I'm about to do now. Then at this point, I will then come down with 1 inch. 1 inch. Then I would connect it to the 8 inches. The point I marked 8 inches. You see? After you're done with that, I will come back to take my neckline measurement. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'll be using 3 inches for the length. Yeah, I'll use 3 inches. I'll mark 3 inches. And the depth of the neckline, I'll mark 3 inches. This is for the front, from the front part. I'll mark 3 inches. Then the next thing is, I will then connect my lines together to form a box. This will serve as a guideline to shape your neckline. So now, as you can see, hope you can see very well. Okay, so after that, I will then curve my neckline. It depends on the kind of neckline you want, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll curve my neckline. I want a round circle neckline. Then look at me, you can, yeah, then for the purpose of this part, you can get the curvy ruler, the rulers. That one will even help you to curve it very well. To curve it very well, you can even just get, you when you get to the market, you see, just tell them you want the rulers, they are going to give it to you. But for the purpose of today, I will use my hand. Don't mind me. If you know you can use your hand and you can shave it perfectly fine, it's okay. That is why we are drafting it on the pattern paper. So then I would then curve my, you can see I've curved my neckline. Hope you can see very well. So after that, you know, I told you that we, because of our shoulder is not straight, we marked 1 inch down the point where we marked 8 inches. Then I will then connect that 1 inch to the point where my neckline ends. Look at me the way I'm doing it. Then you connect it this way. See, you can see that the shoulder, we are now getting what we should. Then I will then come back to this point, then place my armhole measurement. For the purpose of this tutorial, my armhole measurement is 16, and some it is, you know, some is 18. So it depends. But for the purpose of my of this tutorial, I will use 8 for mine, which is 16, because you have to divide it by 2. You know, your round, this is it, my round armhole. Let me measure it. The round armhole, you measure your round armhole like this. Whatever you get, you divide by 2. You can see mine is 16. It has to be free, your round armhole. So mine is 16. 16 divided by 2. So I would place 8 here, 8 here. Then that 8, at the point where I marked 8, I will then draw a straight line. That line will then serve as my bust line or chest line, whichever one you call it. Then this will serve as my bust line. So this will serve as my bust line. I want you to see it very well. This is my bust line, and this one down here is my waistline. So I will then connect my armhole measurement from the point where I measured 8 downward. Then I will then place my ruler and then connect it. And see, my armhole is already forming. So it doesn't stop there. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I will be using this pattern to draft both the front and the back pattern. But okay, I would use this for the front pattern so that the beginners can pick very fast. Then in my next video, I would emphasize more on that. So this is my armhole now, but I can't leave it like this. I have to make sure that it is well shaped. But before I do that, for me, you can do that randomly, it doesn't mean. But for me, I like to place all my measurements on before shaping anything. So now, this is the bust point. At the bust point, the bust line, I'm going to place my bust measurement. That is my round bust measurement. Divide by 4. My bust measurement is 34. It's 37 rather. So it's 37 divided by 4. You would have 9¼ So I will place the 9¼ on the bust line or chest line, whichever one you call it. 9¼ sorry, I'll place 9¼ I'll place this is the mark it. Then for sewing allowance, I would put 2 inches or 1½. It depends on whichever one you want to use. Okay, for the purpose of this tutorial, I will use 1½ or Let me use 1.5. 1.5 is okay. You just whichever, anything you feel is okay for you, because it is better you have excess than be short of fabric when it is time to sew. So I'm through with placing my bust measurement. Then I'll come down to the waist measurement, the waistline. I'll come down to the waistline, where I will be placing. I'll come down to the waistline where I will be placing my waist measurement. Now this your waist measurement is the tiniest part of your waist. Mine is 30. So mine is 30. I'll divide 30 by 4. Do not forget, the only measurements you will divide by 2 is your shoulder and your armhole measurement. But your bust, your waist, your hip, everything is by 4. So now my waist measurement is 30. 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5. So I'll place it here. I'll place my 7.5. I'll play them. I would insert my sewing allowance, which is 1.5. Then one more thing is 1.5. Then I will come down to my hip measurement. My hip measurement is 40. My hip line. This is the hip line. My hip measurement is 40. 40 divided by 4 is 10. I'll place the 10 here. I'll place 10 here. With the sewing allowance 1.5. I would mark it. I hope you can see it's so simple, no stress. Then at the down part of my dress, what I would do is, at the down part of my dress here, what I would do is come to my hip line and take the measurements I have here. I have 11.5. You know, it's 10 for the measurement and it's 1.5. 1.5 for my, so I have 11.5 here. I would then minus 2 inches from the 11.5. Then place the measurement down to my gown length. Or better still, I would minus 2 inches from the 10. That is my initial measurement, which is 8. Then add the 1.5 sewing and I'm making 9.5. So it's the same thing. Or is either you take everything you have here, 11.5 minus 2 inches, you get 9.5. So I'll be placing the 9.5 at the gown length part. That 9.5. This is it. So it depends on you. You might decide to, okay, you might even make it 10 if you don't want it too tight, or you might make it, but I would stop here. I'll put mine at 9.5. So then we'll come back here. It's not yet finished though. I will then shave my armhole, as I like to do it this way, because my measurement here would serve as a guide. Then you then shave, and for your front pattern, you look for the midpoint of these 8 inches you measured here for the armhole. This is the midpoint. Then the midpoint is 4. And I'll then mark 4. Then after marking 4, I'll come in by quarter of an inch. You can use quarter of an inch, or I'll come in with quarter of an inch. This is for the front pattern. For the front pattern, you have to come in by quarter of an inch. For the back, you won't come in. This is for the back. This is for the back here. You don't have to come in. Just, you see, that is for the back. You don't have to come in for the back. For the back armhole, but for the front, I would have to come in by a quarter of an inch. Then take it down. Or better still, you can even come in by half an inch. It depends on whichever one you want. Any one you want, come in by half an inch. Then you shape it down, then I will then connect it up here. I will then connect it up here. You see, that's so you see, this is for the back armhole, and this here is for the front. It's for the front panel. This is for the back panel, this is for the front panel. And at the neckline here, you know, this neckline is for the front panel. If it's for the back, the back neckline is also the length is also 3, but the depth you can use 1 inch or 1.5 inch, whichever one you want. I will use 1 inch for mine, 1 inch. Then you connect it the same way this, then you shape it the same way. So when you are cutting, you know, this is the pattern paper, you just place it on your fabric, then trace it out. So when you are cutting, you cut out the back panel first. You cut out the back panel first. You see, you cut out like this, you cut out like this back neckline, cut it out, then the back armhole, then before you now cut out the front one, then this part. So with this, we are through with this. So I will then now come back to the bust and the waistline. For your clothes to be fitted, for it to look good, for it to fit you very well, you need to place your darts. And darts, how do you get your dart measurement? Your dart measurement is your bust pan, that is from one nipple to the other nipple. You measure it. Don't worry, I said in my next video I will show you how to take accurate measurement of the body. But because of beginners, I would like to, you know, take it one after the other. Is your bust pan from here to here? Mine is 8. It depends. Some people, they might be more bustier than I do. Theirs might be 9. It depends on your client's measure, but mine is 8. And I said for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll be using 8. So then I will then place my bust pan, which is 8 divided by 2. You know, it's on 4, so 8 divided by 2 is 4. And I'll place the 4 here. I will mark it 4. I will come down here to, I will mark 4. Then at my hip measurement here, I will mark 4 inches. Then the next thing is connect the line. But one thing is, for me, I don't like to